I'm Maya, your host for the evening, and in this series, I'm going to be talking about, let's just stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. You guessed it, none other than Harry Potter, other known as my favorite book series of all time. Yes, I'm not ashamed to admit it, these books shaped and defined my childhood. There's no one I identified more in this lifetime. And of course, everyone has their opinions about jkrowling. I'm not here to discuss those, but we're gonna try to discuss casting and approach to this TV show by Warner Bros. Because I'm worried, and if you're a fan of Harry Potter and good TV shows that focus on story above all, you should be worried too. Okay, first things first. Yes, I'm not happy with the current casting for this series. I think from the beginning, this series was bound to be controversial because of how beloved and already legendary the original movies are. Each of the characters and casting for the new series would have been a letdown somewhat because we've already had a version of these characters with some of the most beloved British actors in history of cinema. So they were already on an uphill battle from the start. Now, my advice and what I said way back when they announced the TV show, I think I've deleted that video since then. Never mind. Like I've said back then, I'm excited for this TV show because it's an opportunity to tell the story to the fullest, to tell everything that we had in the books that we didn't see on the screen. The books are so much more rich in history and backgrounds and plot points that weren't developed, also characters that we haven't seen in the movies, and they tell a better story than the movies did. Movies relied heavily on the fact that majority of their audience have read the book. And so when you have someone who has only ever seen movies, I'm not sure how they are even digesting this story, because one of the examples, they never mention that Harry Potter's father can transform into a deer. And that's why when Harry sees Patronus charm in the form of a deer, he thinks he saw his dad, but that's never explained in Prisoner of Azkaban. So I don't know, Godspeed to everyone who hasn't read the books. One of my friends said, oh, why did he say he saw a dad when he saw a goat? So yes, this show was a great opportunity. Only a few years ago when streaming was booming and we thought we were gonna get all prestigious TV, high productions and great writing, I said then, I would literally pay for each episode to see a full Harry Potter story. Now, since then, the showrunner, or rather, I don't think it's a showrunner, I think he's one of the writers, said that he doesn't think it's necessary to keep very faithfully to the source material. The source material is only there for an inspiration. So that happened. And then we get the casting. Moment of silence for all of our beloved characters. We get Albus Dumbledore, but make it American. I mean, we could have maybe made that work. Not for me, but I guess. And we get Severus Snape, but make him black. Black actor, Papa Seydoux, in this role. I'm sure he's a wonderful actor. I don't think I have seen him in anything, but from what I know, he is mostly a stage actor, which is very good. Majority of legendary actors we had in Harry Potter were both theater and cinema actors. So that's great. The problem is when you cast actors that don't fit description of characters in the book, especially when we're talking about skin color, it is gonna change themes in the story. It just changes the way we perceive certain plot points and certain situations and relationships in the books. But, you might not want to listen to me because I'm obviously white, as you can see. So let's listen to some of the black creators, American creators, that basically tell you exactly the same thing as I'm going to say. So let's listen.
I grew up with Harry Potter. I remember waiting until midnight for the next book to drop. And it's also cool, as a Black person, to see Papa having success. We even have similar last names. And I get that racially diverse casting can offer new perspectives. But this is forced. Harry Potter is a part of history. Many millennials' fondest childhood memories are with these characters. As a little kid in the Bronx, at no point did I ever think, there needs to be more Black people in these books. Fans weren't complaining about Harry Potter's diversity back then. We were just happy to experience the wizarding world as it was. Making Snape Black might help HBO's diversity push, but it's coming at the cost of being true to the source material. And overlooking that by saying Snape's race was never specified when he was described in terms that you would never use for a Black person is evasion, not explanation. Now, if HBO wants more racial diversity, they can do it with characters who don't have such a defined physical appearance. But my bigger frustration is this. I'm tired of seeing shows and video games lecture me about how the world ought to be. I don't need a Black Snape any more than I need a Black Legolas or a white Mace Windu. And when you change one part of history, you affect other parts of it.
I think the push for diversity and inclusion, much like Me Too movement, was necessary in Hollywood at some point. Yes, we wanted to make room for more female perspectives, more diverse perspectives. But like with anything, we pushed it too far. We made it extreme. And now it's almost like a running joke that, they're gonna make Harry Potter Black, which is not something you want to hear, I would assume, when you're a Black person. So why are we taking a noble cause and pushing it so far into the extreme that it turns into a joke? That's my question. Why are we doing that? Harry Potter is a beloved series, and it's beloved worldwide. It has sold more copies than any other book in the world. And yes, some of those countries where it was sold in biggest numbers are not white. Now, that doesn't mean that we want to in any way or shape or form gatekeep Harry Potter. That would be insane, especially since, in my opinion, Harry Potter world, like Star Wars, was already diverse. Harry Potter takes place in the 90s, like literally in the books. It takes place between 90 and 97, which makes events of the epilogue happening in, I'm very bad at math, 2017? I think so. I'm not sure. I would have to check. Oh my God. Here I am trying to position myself as the expert on all things Harry Potter, and I can't remember I think it says 19 years. Right? Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. Shame on you, Maya. But it is very much a story happening within British society. So it's already inherently diverse. You have Black character, Dean Thomas, with Harry in the same school year. You have Asian characters. You have Indian characters. You have French, German, like everyone is there in the books. There are not a lot of mentions of gay characters, criticism where criticism is due, sure. But, it is implied enough about Dumbledore. So if you are able to read between the lines, you can. In no way there is need for changes. Now, if you really want to make changes, to make the cast more diverse and inclusive, you can do a similar thing you did with, for example, House of the Dragon, when they changed Corlys Valerian's skin color, and it actually enhanced the story. It made the story more interesting and more like absurdly comical with the conflict, because you could actually go and do this and see, these are not Laenor's children. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. If you don't, you probably don't care. But with Snape, situation gets murky. Because I know exactly, and this is my intuition, my opinion. These are opinions, not facts here, but I presume I know exactly how they arrived at this choice to make Snape the one they are gonna change. They were gonna do this with Hermione. But then someone in the writer's room decided to go like this and say, well, okay, we cast Hermione with a black actress, but then what happens in season 2? We have all of those scenes with Malfoy calling Hermione mudblood. That's a bad look for Warner Bros. For having black character being called mudblood entire season, because that's not just one time. This is like a recurring motif of her character. So what do? We can't change Harry because Harry's the main character, and you know, this controversy would break this show. We can't change Ron because Ron has very, very distinctive description. He is a ginger with freckles. So who, besides the main trio, is the most important character in the series? Snape. So we changed Snape. But then everyone was like, yes, that's a great choice because he's a tragic hero of the story. And they didn't think it further through like they did with Hermione. Now, this is the problem with changing the color of the skin of Severus Snape. First of all, as much as I love Harry Potter and this series in its entirety, the fact that Severus Snape is a tragic hero is one of the... This is gonna piss some of you off, especially if you're a fan of Severus Snape. But I don't actually believe that he is the tragic hero of the story. Now, does he make sacrifices that are noble? Does he help our main character in the shadows? Does he redeem himself? Yes, of course. That's why he's a very interesting character. He's an anti-hero. But he's also a huge bully throughout the whole series. He is horrible to Harry because he was in love with his mother. She rejected him for his bully, and he sees that childhood bully in Harry. So he projects and treats him like trash, even though he secretly is helping to save him. He treats Neville horribly. Like, this man should never have been a teacher. Like, what is wrong with you? He tortures this poor kid just because Neville is bad at potions. There's no other reason for it, really, for Snape bullying Neville for 7 years straight. He is horrible to everyone except for his house, Slytherin, and he favors the bullies themselves, like Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle. So he is not exactly a knight in a shining armor. Now, that's fine. You can have complex characters that are black, of course, but that's not what Hollywood is trying to say with this casting. They're trying to say he is gonna be wrongly accused each and every time, because what happens in every book, Harry goes, this is all Snape's fault. How is that gonna work? Where you're gonna have a main character going every year, every season, saying, you know what, my nose is telling me this is the fault of the only black teacher in Hogwarts. And someone even made a joke on Twitter that then Harry becomes what basically can be equated to this world's version of a cop at the end of the series. So this is ridiculous. This is just dumb. And this is not even the tip of the iceberg. Because what do you remember happens in book 5? We go into Snape's memories and we can see how Harry's dad and his friends, Sirius, Lupin, and Peter, were bullying Snape and calling him names and humiliating him in front of the entire school. And what did they do? Yes, my friends, they hung him up on a tree. SOS, what are you doing? What are you doing with this story? This is gonna be memed to eternity if this happens. I just don't understand how you can miss the mark so much. What is a Harry Potter book about? Quickly. Like, if you had to say one thing about the story, what is it about? Like, of course, it has themes of friendship, hope, love, but at its core, what is every book about and the overarching theme of the entire narrative? Do you remember? Can you guess? Like, maybe that's only my opinion, but I would say the entire Harry Potter is like a manifesto against bullies. You know, each year Harry encounters a bully that he learns how to overcome. Like, he is first introduced to Dudley and Dursleys, and then to Malfoy, and then to Voldemort. Gilderoy Lockhart is a different type of bully who uses his popularity and charm to get what he wants. And then you also have Snape, who is vicious towards his students. And then you have Barty Crouch Jr., Umbridge, another great example. Some would say, myself included, that she's the worst villain. She's the worst villain of the story, even worse than Voldemort, because she's just so unfair and personal in her vindictiveness. Like, Voldemort is, you know, you're a run-of-the-mill bad guy. But Umbridge is actually very personally vindictive and so on. Like, each book teaches Harry how to overcome a certain type of bullying. And then you get to like the final boss, death. So all of those themes are layered and, you know, woven together. You change universal bullying that everyone can identify with to racism. Now, that doesn't mean that racism isn't horrible or that it doesn't exist, and those themes are already there. So why change it? Why change whole story that can teach every child in the world how to stand up to bullies into a fight against racism that potentially frames our main character as racist? That's a problem for a TV show. If you want this TV show to succeed and be an adventure fantasy story for children and old fans, new fans potentially. At the end of the day, this show could have been a great opportunity to revamp Harry Potter for a new audience, because I was the original target of Harry Potter. Now I am 30 years old, and kids these days, I don't think they care as much about Harry Potter. Maybe some of the parents transferred their love for the series to them and are trying to introduce them to this world. But majority of the teenagers and kids, I don't think, care about the franchise. You could have had the biggest hit on your hands, the biggest TV show, the most popular. It would have broken all of the records held by Game of Thrones and all others easily, because it could have been a show that would be watched not only by adults, teenagers, but also kids, entire families. Like, everyone would tune in to this show. And old fans, definitely we would want to see full story from the books. New fans, I think you could have potentially won over people that were like meh about Harry Potter their entire lives, because there's nothing on streaming that really says fantasy, adventure, lightheartedness, and hope anymore. So this could have been a great choice for everyone. Everyone would have been able to really delve into the story, but you changed it. And now I can see the problems it's going to cause in the narrative and in the conversation around this show in general online. Unfortunately, it's going to be mocked to the oblivion, because how could it not be at this point? And that's what worries me. Now, Harry Potter came at a perfect time when we had this steady rise of blockbusters that are mainstream, but also very interesting and artistically creative, but are also very successful at the box office. Like, remember those times? I wish we could go back to those times, because that's impossible today. Like, to have a mainstream, popular, creative vision that is also a box office success. The only thing I can name in the last 15 years is Dune. The only thing. Dune Part 2, because 1, I don't think it was that big of a hit. It was still during the pandemic. But when Harry Potter was coming out, we had Lord of the Rings, we had Pirates of the Caribbean, we had Chronicles of Narnia, each with a distinctive artistic style, feel to it. Those days are gone. And with the strikes, the controversies with AI, with, you know, how internet treats young stars and actors in those projects, I'm honestly worried for the kids the most, because one of the things that was wonderful about Harry Potter is that Chris Columbus, who was the director of the first movie, when he was casting the kids, said he was really casting the parents as well. Like, he didn't want to repeat the problem he created with Macaulay Culkin with Home Alone series. And he was very vigilant about creating a safe space for young actors. Nowadays, even though everyone loves to pretend that they care about mental health and like intimacy coordinators and all that stuff on set, I think work for young actors is infinitely more dangerous now. But, you know, an adult Black actor who chose to accept the role of Severus Snape, knowing full well what the original character looks like. I mean, he made a choice, and the production made a choice. And now we have to somehow create a TV show that is worthwhile out of it. Are they going to be able to do it? I think that ship has sailed. I wanted this show to work so much, but yeah, not this time. And I wanted to have a show that I would be obsessed with. I love shows that I am obsessed with. To have, you know, each episode be broken down, and I know so much lore from Harry Potter. I could have been making videos about discussing all of the things they mention in new TV shows, but now, since they don't want to be faithful to the books, they need to be prepared for my wrath. I'm kidding. Like, at the end of the day, what are you gonna do, right? Like, I'm not making choices. You're not making choices about this. I think they're trying to rehabilitate J.K. Rowling's image with these castings. I don't think it's gonna work, but I think that's their thinking. Let me know, what are your thoughts about this? And about Severus Snape, about this story. Tell me everything. And in the next episode, we're gonna talk about Chronicles of Narnia, but make it rock and roll. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do and help me grow this channel, and I'll see you later.